Very quiet.
It is 7:02 p.m. on November 5th, 2025. We will call the Planning Commission meeting for the month of November into session. We will begin with a roll call. Drew Falk,
Elizabeth Saul.
Amanda Taub.
Allison Miller.
Colin Forsythe,
James Whitesides.
Missing Simon.
just missing something. Okay, meeting minutes to go out for October. Any revisions or questions or comments on October meeting minutes? Someone like to approve said meeting minutes?
Move to approve the meeting minutes from the October Planning Commission meeting. October 1st, 2025.
Moved by Elizabeth, seconded by Allison. All in favor? It's unanimous.
Awesome.
Maggie, you're all by your lonesome tonight.
Pardon? I'm gonna.
All by yourself.
By your lonesome.
Oh, I know. After like missing a few too, so I am just getting into the.
Yeah, so we reviewed Triplex design standards. We kind of gave pretty clear direction back to the city on what we'd like to see. So Maggie, I believe it is in your hands. If you'd like to share what you have come back with.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull this up. Shoot. I have to share screen. Sorry, James. All right. James, are you able to see my screen? Oh, it would help.
Yep, we're good. That's
Turn
perfect.
on the right one. I don't want minutes. Okay, sorry, guys.
Good.
Having issues here. So the design standards are the biggest thing that we went through. Can you still see James online?
I cannot now.
Okay, that's what I thought. This is set up all funky right now. Sorry.
But Maggie, if it's in the, oh, there you go. Yep, perfect.
So I worked with Celeste. She had gone through and tried to update our residential dwelling standards based on your guys' conversations. I did take this to the council at the last council meeting to just get some feedback. Anne gave me some feedback on, you know, making it clear on when this applies. Does it apply to additions? Does it apply to alterations? And so if you look at the beginning here, I did put applies to all new homes. And then later on, you'll see like we ask like for additions and expansions to like try to conform to the greatest extent feasible. But I don't know if that's the direction you guys want to go. So if we just want to walk through the beginning, we did add a purpose statement because we did not have that with our design standards, and that's something that's pretty common with other jurisdictions. But I like that you guys wanted to make it pretty simple. For glazing, we kind of like added and then deleted and moved stuff around. Allison, I know you were kind of involved in working through this, but we kind of landed on a 15% of the wall area, including glazing on the facades that face a street. Does that seem reasonable to you guys? The idea is to not have a blank wall. I actually have a picture of a blank wall on a street, and it is, you know, if people are having some heartburn over adding additional units and infill, having some of these elements might make them feel a little better about that. Do you have any comments on the glazing? Anybody?
I know we kind of go back and forth of having the if and.
Oh, the and or street side?
Yeah. Or, but, you know, is there garage versus no garage versus whatever, but I think, I mean.
Oh, yeah, we'll go to garage.
Yeah, but
Next.
this feels fairly minimalistic, and I think 15% is very reasonable.
And we tried it out with some things, like we took a square footage of something and tried to see if it met it. And it is really close. Like it didn't seem like an overly cumbersome request. There was one side of one of the pre-approved ADU plans that doesn't meet it. So that's why we have an exception in here.
Oh, on the front?
I think it's one of the sides.
Oh,
So
so,
if it had a street
Fine.
side, that would be a
Right.
problem, but otherwise it wouldn't have a problem.
Yeah.
Because normally most infill lots, it's gonna be just, there's not that many corner lots, so.
Yeah.
The only time it wouldn't apply would be a corner lot. So that's something to think of when we move forward with, when we adopt the 2024 IRC, is that next year? When we update those plans, we might want to update them to be able to meet those standards, just so we have a compliant product. So we have that. The weather protection, we kind of reduced down to just saying all new primary dwellings that are facing a street need to have covered weather protection. So that was a 4 by 3 feet. It's very minimal, but it at least is something. So it's not a flat wall. And it helps just protect the home. It's inviting. And most structures meet that either by bumping out or they recess the wall in to have that covered area. So we would include either of those options.
my only
Yeah,
comment there is we had some. I thought there was something about, any support structure shall be designed to integrate with the building, shall not be a separate structure. Like we
I think-
crossed off something
I think it
about
might not have shown up on
separate
here.
structures because it is placing an unmeetable regulation on manufactured homes.
Yeah. So this one, I think we just said integral part of the dwelling. It doesn't say it has to be attached.
Right, okay, so an integral part of the dwelling architecture that's not specifying that it has to
It
actually
has to be attached.
Okay.
I think we took that out. I don't know why it's not showing up as a
Yeah.
track changes, so I might have to look
Yeah.
at that.
It's just the way it's worded is a little bit gray, but
So what would be clear, I guess, because we do want it to be clear. It doesn't have to be overly wordy, just. The
Yeah.
way I interpret it could be different from someone else.
like,
So,
I almost wonder, well. If we're talking about design standards, should we say designed instead of constructed? Because constructed
yeah.
as an integral part implies that like it is actually physically constructed as integral to the structure.
Mhm.
As opposed to like designed as an integral part is like, it looks like it's part of the structure. But may not be actually integrated structurally.
All right, so let's do.
This is very nitpicky.
No,
I'm gonna get real
that's
nitpicky
why-
here today.
Hey, that's why I have it in Word, so we can kind of add comments, because what I'd like to do is have a product that is pretty close to being ready for hearing, so we can move forward with this. So all in favor of that change to make it more clear?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Way better.
Okay. Again, this is the first time I've been able to walk through this with you all, so this is super helpful. So are you okay with moving on to D?
Yes.
Okay. So here we took out the construction of the siding materials that are similar, because we already don't really follow that, so we just decided to take that out, but they should complement the primary structure. Does that?
Perfect.
I mean, it says should, it doesn't say shall. I think it gives the intent of like, yeah, have it kind of look like it goes with the primary structure on the lot, but it doesn't have specific standards. Here we talked about, and this might need some word smithing, because at first it says garage doors shall not exceed 50% of the front facade. However, garage doors may exceed this limit when they include design details. So
I would love to strip all that out and go back to the limits that got crossed out in section I. But
there needs to be an option though, if they just can't, because some of these 30-foot wide lots, they might have like more garage up front and need some, and it just wouldn't work. And I'm trying to eliminate the need for a variance.
well, I calculated that 30% of the front facade if you have a 20-foot wide by 16-foot tall
Mhm.
front facade, so, you know, on a 30-foot lot, that's a 2-story building. 30% of the front facade is like an 8x8 garage door.
Would this
I
be
think
only,
that's
what if somebody
or
was
maybe
bu-
it's
building a new garage with an
20%
ADU
or
above
something.
it? On an existing lot, so it wouldn't be attached. It's just a standalone garage. This is where I made this change after.
But I mean, if it's, oh, even then, 50%,
Like Anne brought up,
Like-
like her house, I don't know where she lives. But she has a big carport. If she decided she wanted to build a garage, she can't put it off the alley because of existing structures. She'd have to put it closer to the front. And it might exceed that 50%.
I don't think she can fit a big enough garage to exceed 50%. I think she's, if you're thinking of like the first floor alone, but if it's a 2-story structure.
Yeah.
Then 50% is the entire first floor wall to wall. If it's a 2-story structure.
Okay, so that's not how I read it. I think of the facade like a cross, not double
Oh,
story, so
Oh.
that's how I'm
Oh,
reading
I was
30%
thinking
is
of like
entirety
the
of the
whole
structure.
front facade.
it. Okay,
Entirety of the
Whole
structure.
thing.
okay. That
Both
needs to be
stories and like a
clearer
gable,
because
what's in the gable.
yeah.
I mean, it's the same, well, we use the same wording with the percentage of glazing
Yeah.
and that,
Yeah.
the second floor would be
like
included.
the whole thing.
Yeah,
I think they just didn't like the idea with the garages and where some of this code was taken from with other jurisdictions. They just didn't want it to be the whole
Yeah.
front of that.
No, okay, I think go back to what's crossed out, the 30%,
Okay.
and just make it clear that it includes the entirety of the structure. I mean, yeah, I mean.
Can we
to-
say including all floor, all floors?
yeah, but I mean, that's implied when we're talking about glazing.
I
Like
know,
glazing,
it's just.
15%
I
of the
didn't read it
wall
that way, And
area.
I work here, so I think.
You could switch it
well,
to,
I didn't read it that way either.
I mean, the other thing is we could switch it to the width, 50% of the width of the front facade.
No, I think that.
If you, instead of the area.
Due to the lot sizes, if people are gonna do this, they are gonna probably have to do townhomes. And so you're probably gonna see a lot of the,
Yeah, that's the thing, like
Yeah,
50% of the width would be super limiting, then you
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to do
So-
an
so-
ADU above.
That's
you
why
know.
I put in the, if they could do it, they could
But
increase
those,
it.
I'm like, they're gonna put some dumpy tiny trellis over like
Yeah.
a big, huge front of a garage, like, I don't think that's fixing the problem that we're concerned about.
I agree, so I think going back to just making, how do we just make it clear that when we talk about 30%, we're referring to the entirety of the front facing structure? Can we just say entirety of the front facing structure?
Again,
For glazing, we say 15% of the wall area on dwelling facades that face the street.
Yeah,
So
so
we
we should be
could do-
consistent.
We could
Copy that.
do the same 30% of the wall area of the front dwelling facade or whatever.
Because the whole A through F is like everything we're trying to get away from, respectfully. I know it's well written, but
Did the council specifically want,
there was just
all
there was some confusion with this and that people, if you're building a detached garage, it might not work. And if the idea, like, if the concept here is that we don't want garages to take over, they're never gonna be 2 stories, so like. That, what you're telling me, like, why are we even including this, I guess?
kind of.
That's what I'm hearing, like, I always have interpreted it as like 50% of the width of the lot, that it's not all garage, so I have an example of. Mike Bedard brought up a unit that's a triplex across the street from his house, and he's like, it's awful, because the whole front is parking. And. He wants to get away from that, so that's why we're trying to incorporate some things that the council was talking about.
Sure.
So this, I think the intent at most places is that the garage doesn't take over the whole house like it did I have a 1994 house. The whole front of my house is a garage. But we have windows, but we have a second story with windows and other things. It's not just a box.
oh, so they didn't want the second floor to count
I don't think
because they
they,
don't
I don't
want
think they thought of it. I think they.
50% of
I'll
the.
show you can I show you
like,
the
street
example of
I was reading it as street level.
Yeah.
That's how I read it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I mean, at least some people.
I mean,
So, yeah.
So that means you couldn't have just a garage then, like if we
Let's
limit
look,
it.
let's look at the examples, Maggie. I think we have to kind of like, we're talking, there are three different problems people are solving for right now with three different structure types, I think. So you brought up Mike's scenario, Allison's talking about 30 lots, and then we're kind of stuck, and then detached garage, and those are all very unique scenarios. We should kind of
I'm trying to
find a
find it.
method to
I'm
address
sorry.
them. Yeah, yeah.
We are also doing a visual preference survey, right? At our community engagement night for the community to give us feedback on what makes it feel like neighborhoody. What makes it feel like Leavenworth and not Seattle, or because I don't know what that means and it means something different to everyone. So we wanted to get out to the community, like what makes it feel like a community to you and what doesn't feel like a community. So this is
ironically, and not Seattle.
this is the example that Mike gave me.
I mean,
Not a garage.
that's quite ironic because it's not a garage.
But
so
it's not a
garage.
garage.
Yeah.
But like even assuming
Um,
this was a garage, if that was
so
enclosed, we
there's-
would not allow that.
On West Whitman.
But we would allow it because it's 2-story, or if it, I don't know, I just,
See, that's the thing. If it was 50% of the whole facade, then yes, it would be allowed at 2-story. But if it was 30% of the facade, then that would not be allowed, even if it's 2-story.
That's closer.
Even if you're counting
That's
all of it.
closer to 4 year.
yeah, I'm just, so how could we avoid something like this happening? Because this isn't even a garage front.
We would have to push people to the alley.
I was thinking the same thing,
Well,
and you know, I think,
There are some, like on Orchard Street, some of those bigger lots, they don't have alleys.
yeah.
I mean, that's why,
Bigger lot, I don't think it's as big of a problem.
But I mean, but if this were to be common duplex or a triplex, you would have 3 distinct garage doors, right? So in theory, some of the other language in here would say that those need to have uniqueness or character. So you would never get this, you couldn't build this if we were a triplex.
I bet that is a triplex.
It is a triplex.
It is.
I think each one of those doors is a little storage area for.
yeah.
Yeah, and then the
Yeah.
entrances are on the sides, but, so that's what he does not, that's what I think in his mind, that's what he pictures when he pictures triplex, because that's what he sees every day. So he wants to make sure there's standards in here that wouldn't allow something like this to be built. In a
Tell the
neighborhood.
city to upgrade all the alleyways and require
Service
parking in the alley.
service alleys.
But, you know, and some of these things we're talking about are going to be, in a lot of infill. And so maybe there isn't, I mean, obviously we say the preference, we have that in our Title 14, that preference is opt out for one.
Okay, so I think the way that a previous draft was garage doors shall not exceed 50% of the front facade. Where there is alley access available, garage doors shall not exceed 30% of the front facade.
Would the garage be
And we had
facing
just
the alley
lifted
then?
that.
And would we care if it?
I don't care if
exceeds
there's
it on the
garage
alley?
doors all
That's
over the
why,
alley.
that's
Yeah.
why I took that.
That's a great, I think that's a great thing to have in the alley.
Yeah, that in the alley is absolutely.
Because I read this as where access is available from the alley, like what, we wouldn't really limit
Then-
how wide it could be.
Well, no, then the garage
No.
door shall not exceed 30% of the front facade.
Yeah,
Yeah, and we don't
Not
say
the
anything
alley
about the
facade.
But
alley.
why would
So
you,
there's
why
no-
would you have a garage on the front if your access is off the alley?
If you,
Exactly.
if you have like, if you want, if you need
Yeah.
3 parking spaces and you have 2 in the back and 1 in the front,
Oh.
because of width of driveways and stuff.
Okay. I was just trying to give them an option, like if there's an example, like there's always gonna be somebody that, and I guess that means processing more variances. I just wanted more flexibility in the code, I guess, to be able to say,
I mean-
okay, well, if you do these other things to make it look nicer, but like having a
I
second
don't-
story with windows.
Like, I don't think that, like, windows on the garage door do not fix having your entire front facade be garage doors.
Well,
Like,
they
it
have to
doesn't,
fit more
it's
than
still
one.
just a
I
bunch of
mean,
garage doors and they're still ugly. They're still not connecting to the street in any way. So feel like there's no reason. Okay,
I can
you
put,
can't really do, like, you can't. I don't know, I'm thinking
There's
of
no
like,
solution. There's no easy solution,
No.
Allison,
No.
like, like the way
but
this,
I'm
the way
like,
this
I'm
works out,
thinking of,
yeah.
I'm thinking of what scenario, in what scenario would you legitimately need more than like 30 or 40% of the entire front facade, or 50% of the width of your front of your house to be garage doors? And I think there's a reason we're trying to regulate that right out of existence.
here's
Like, you
staff
just have to be creative and figure it out.
this is another thing everyone hates.
Yeah, which, again, that's less than 20% of the front facade because it's 3 stories tall.
Yeah. But that's not how I read it.
What do you,
You read it as
As the
width,
width.
then maybe we need foot width then.
which,
Well,
yeah, I
no.
mean, we talk about driveways. I mean, we definitely need to specify if we're talking about width or wall area.
Cause I think if the concern is that garages are taking over the whole like frontage of a home. It doesn't make it very welcoming if you drive up or walk up and it's just all garage. I think that's the idea is.
Do we have a definition for facade? We should probably add one. If we
We
don't,
should.
just so it's clear.
Yeah.
It's facade to me is the entire front facing structure.
Yeah.
Everything, every
Yeah.
plane that faces the front.
No, and I agree with that definition. I'm just saying where I've seen, I think. Where I've seen this kind of code for garage is, it was more about the width of the. It was so the whole width of the garage doesn't take up more than 50% of the width of the lot. So even if you had like a
But-
Rambler, it didn't take up more than half of the.
So I think this is the question. We all know that we don't want more than 50% of the width of a structure to be a garage.
Okay,
Except that that's not always feasible. That's not always feasible because you have a 20-foot lot. Well, no, I mean, technically that is,
We talked about the difference
I mean,
between this
30
last
foot lot.
time with Celeste here, and we,
we weren't talking about width though.
well, but we were talking about whether or not we would require at least a certain amount of the ground floor to not be garage.
Yeah.
And we decided not to go down that path because it would be too prohibitive, from what I recall.
Yeah.
Okay,
For places without alley access.
so,
I mean, to me, it's, would we rather have an entire front facade like this of garages and have 4 affordable houses?
That's
Yeah.
kind of what I'm getting,
I
I'm
would
just
rather
saying
have
that,
that all
yeah.
thinking
thinking about,
than,
you know, every
Interpretation.
limitation we put is gonna make things more expensive.
yeah,
Right.
How much are we willing to?
cost
I'm
effective,
just saying-
absolutely, like garage bottom.
So I
houses.
think,
There's a reason why townhouses are successful, because there's efficiency.
And if they're gonna get around it just by making it a carport instead of a garage, that's not like
That's not fixing
useful.
anything that's worse.
Yeah.
I think that we should have a lower percentage and say that it is the entire front facade,
And then define facade.
okay,
the wall area.
I
We
need
can
to
use the term wall
actually
area to be
accept that.
consistent.
Or just that square footage and then the units are
I
implied.
just wanna make sure that we have enough in here that this will go through, because their big concern with triplexes, even though it's the same as a house and 2 ADUs, is how they look. So if I take this to them, there's not enough stuff. They're gonna turn it back to you and say, redo this.
And then
This goes
we're gonna
back to
say,
what
do
James
you
said, you
want,
cannot
do you
Want housing
regulate,
or
do you
not?
want housing or not?
you cannot regulate bad design out
Yeah.
of existence.
Yeah,
And adding lots of A, B, C, Ds and Es isn't gonna fix it.
I mean, I fully support limiting
just makes it-
garage doors. I just think that no matter what, there's going to be some scenario in which it is possible to end up with more garage doors than looks nice from the street. No matter what you do.
Okay.
Unless you make it so limiting that
I mean,
nobody can put a garage in the front, and then that is not feasible.
You know, we
Like,
can,
I mean, if
Yeah,
we
we
want,
can exempt you know, duplexes and triplexes.
Except that people specifically
that's-
don't want duplexes and
that's
triplexes. to work.
exactly the thing that they care about.
So tell me how to.
But that's why the council would.
But why would
say
we exempt
don't
single family
understand that.
homes and not?
You know,
the-
but I think we can also push back on the council and say that, look, if we want.
Well, they're the ones who have
affordable
to
housing-
agree to it.
They're the ones that are pushing us. They're saying, okay, we will look at triplexes. We might think about allowing them. If you have some design standards that make it look better in our neighborhood, make it feel more like a neighborhood. I don't know what that means.
Yeah,
That's what I'm trying to
None of
get
them
at.
know what
I
it
commend
means.
the effort of asking the community what their expectations are, but I'd be shocked if you get anything that coalesces around anything that dissembles plurality. Like, no one's gonna have the same opinion.
Right, nobody's gonna
Yeah.
agree on what that means.
Because I mean, it's like,
We're excited to hear we're doing a survey, a visual preference survey, because they want to hear from the community.
Yeah.
And know what they want, not.
You're gonna get 800
You're gonna get-
opinions.
I
Yeah,
know.
exactly. And then you don't want A through Z on, yeah, you're gonna get.
Yeah,
I'm just saying they want-
we're asking all the
They're
people that live here already.
Yeah, exactly.
They have a house. Here.
Right.
They just want to feel like they have a voice. It's,
Understood.
Yeah, but we shouldn't ask for feedback on things that we're not gonna plan on using. That's my.
well,
Maggie, can we put it in the visual preferences? Can we put a Bavarian village? Like a real one, a modern one? Like I want to challenge people's conception of like what design is, because it's a design question and not necessarily a code question.
I can't get anything to work here. Sorry, guys. No, I can leave this as it was and take this out. And then, Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I
And
would
then-
rather do that because if it takes them kicking it back and doing this again, that's fine. I'd rather take that risk than to add so much burdensome additional cost. This equates cost.
so I think, I mean, the biggest thing is we're asking for more windows. And we're asking for them to have covered front porch.
And there's a certain restriction on garage.
yeah, and we are placing some restriction on the amount.
I'm just trying to think of infill, like if this applies to somebody building just a garage for their house.
So they have a.
They already have a house, maybe a house and an ADU, and they want a detached garage. If they don't make it 2 stories, it's,
What if we exempt attached garages
Okay.
or detached?
What if we say, or, I don't know.
I mean,
Garage door shall not exceed more than 20% of the width of the house on a single level home. Like,
Yeah, just,
or on street level.
Yeah,
on-
say street.
I'm sorry, on a multi-level. Or no, on a single level. But that's, yeah, it's like you can just go
Here's-
down endless rabbit holes of every scenario.
that was just the
And
one that
again,
was brought up.
Bavarian
And was like,
row
based
houses
on the
with
code you gave
garages.
me, I can't build a garage.
Yeah.
See, there's a.
So I'll leave
It's
it,
like-
I'll put it back the way it was. I will get pushback from Anne. And then I will add a definition for facade. So I'll move on to. Sorry, this just keeps freezing every time I try to make a comment on it, so.
Yeah, I checked, there's no definition of facade.
This, it's the same, letter E is the same, they just added, wildland urban interface. As another thing. Here, just so people are aware of it, I guess. We've adopted it since we had. After this was written. This is all new. I wasn't here when you guys went through all this. Was there any comment or? Issues with this?
No.
When we talked about it previously, it was articulation and modulation may include the following.
Yeah, not shall.
So it's like, here's some ideas, instead of shall include two of the following.
It was like all of these count as articulation and modulation.
Yes.
Except things like overhangs, like that's not modulation.
No.
So
Well,
take,
does that mean eaves? Like, I don't know what overhangs means, so.
Yeah,
think it
don't either.
I don't just think that this was. I think stuff that was borrowed from other codes in the state.
Yeah. But didn't we already edit this last time? I feel like.
This is what I have.
Yeah, I think this was a list that Celeste had last time, and we talked about that's great if it's may include, not shall include.
Okay,
But yeah.
Just to leave it more
overhangs-
open-ended, just to give an idea of like, this is the kind of things we're
so
looking
what if we
for.
put like eve overhangs?
No,
I don't
That's
think
not-
we need to, I mean, we could just say architectural design changes should be inclusive of that, right? Like. And then it says other forms as approved. Like, I feel like that's really,
yeah,
Well, this got added because it said shall, and I was like, well, I don't like
Oh,
putting
okay.
it in a shall, like you have to do one of these things. I was like, well, we need to have
Oh, right.
something that would give somebody another option. Because I
Well,
don't
yeah,
want it to
we
be
can
so
delete
restricted that people are asking for
5 and
variances.
7 and replace shall with may.
We'll go with that.
And we don't need 2 of the following. It
Yeah,
just
I took-
includes.
I took that out.
Okay, good.
May.
And again, sorry, I missed the last 2 meetings, so I don't know what was discussed, so I know it's hard coming back, but I thought this is a workshop, we'll get through it.
Mhm.
We added this because just in case it was on a corner lot and it wouldn't meet the design standards, we don't want people to not use the pre-approved plans because it's an option. So we exempted them here. I did add existing structures. So this might work for those instances where you're adding a garage to a property that already is developed. Existing structures and developed lots, new additions and structures shall comply with these standards to the greatest extent feasible. If it's not feasible,
yeah. I'm wondering if you even need to include the rest after that, or if you can just leave it at the greatest extent feasible.
I stole this language from the variance code or a variant like in Title 14
Oh,
It's
or
the
like a
exact same
10%
language that we use.
deviation even?
for deviation.
Okay,
But without having to go to the 10% deviation. So this is the language we have in, but I can delete that. I just wanted to give flexibility. If it weren't me making the decision, whoever's next.
I mean, I think the greatest extent feasible, like that is the same language used in the IRC for stairs. That like existing stairs shall conform to like the IRC codes to the greatest extent feasible. And so I think that's fairly self-explanatory language in the code,
Yeah,
but
so we
I
took
mean, it
off.
wouldn't hurt to leave the rest in there
We
if you
took
wanted.
off all, no, I just like this language is like in 3 different spots in the code for
Mhm.
like, if you're gonna deviate, we do, it just is.
Yeah.
But
And if you
But
think,
this
if you
makes-
think it's better in legal.
no, I don't like overly wordy. I just worry about somebody else's interpretation. I want it to be very clear that there's options, that it's not, you have like, oh, well, it could be feasible for you to do this, so you have to do this.
Yeah, Chelan County is likes to
So,
push those boundaries these days.
So I like that. Let's just keep it simple. Again, this was stuff that got taken out. Obviously, they're gonna have to meet the code standards. We already have that whole seismic design standards here. This, I condition all permits to comply with our code, but nobody checks this, so why do we have it?
Yeah.
Same with this one. And then this was for manufactured homes. We already require them to be the, not mobile homes, but manufactured, they're the what are they called? Designated manufactured homes, so they have to be at least no older than 3 years, new off a lot. So they're gonna meet some of these design standards anyway, so I don't think we need to.
I think we moved that into. Or we should make sure that, this matches whatever we put in the manufactured,
This is for all
Oh.
types of,
but like right after this, and then, let me look. There's like a section right below it about manufactured homes, and I feel like we cross-referenced some things.
okay.
What chapter? are we in? 36, okay. Yeah, manufactured homes standards. Okay, yeah, we took out the like, I think it used to be like, must comply with. You know, a list of the letters in the previous section, but we took all that out already, so that's fine.
Yeah, it's just
So
saying they have to
we're
be
good.
they can't be a used mobile home
Yeah.
unless they're in a park.
I was just thinking that in section, the manufactured home standards,
Uh-huh.
we referenced the other, but we
You want me to-
don't anymore, so that's good.
You don't, so I don't need to put this stuff down there. Like the all skirting, sorry.
No,
Because that takes place right here. It says set on the
Yeah.
permanent foundation as specified by the manufacturer. So that's gonna take care of that anyway.
yeah. And it says that shall comply with all design standards applicable to other homes in the neighborhood, so
Which, yeah,
there you go.
okay. So we're okay with taking, oops. Yikes. Taking the rest of that all out.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
Oh, I just wanted to check.
What I'd like to do is then,
Really quickly on
Yeah.
the definitions,
yeah,
the part B about separate water and sewer utilities, so we covered for UGA for language there.
sorry, let me get there. I don't have the,
Awesome.
I think we only mentioned it in Title 14, right? And we took it out of
I
this
think, yeah,
title entirely.
we were trying to take it out of here and only refer to it in the application, right?
can you say, sorry, I missed what you said.
I thought we were gonna remove it from all the unique areas and all listed in one place, because right now it says B, like, separate water and sewer utilities shall be required for each unit. I thought we were gonna remove this from each
Oh.
individual
It was originally,
and then keep it in just in the one use chart.
that's in the current code, so that's weird.
So we could drop that, yeah.
Let me find the code, sorry.
Wait, that's not in our current residential dwelling standards. I think that was in
An old one?
something to do with duplexes.
Yeah. It's in a separate section about duplexes. And so I was just trying to keep it the same as
Yeah.
we require for duplexes.
It says duplex, separate water and sewer utilities shall be required
For each unit.
for each unit. Which is.
Yeah, I thought we did change that. Why is it not updated? in
Well,
the
I think
code?
we're taking out the entire
Yeah, that entire thing.
duplex section.
Yeah,
Are we?
Yeah, well, we're just gonna put all.
Because-
Because I think we were just gonna wrap that in
Yeah.
because this
that was the whole point of
Because
us
it says
doing the
that
other one.
duplex.
Well, we do require, yeah, I mean, we'd have to do what we did with the ADUs in the UGA. They do want separate connections for each unit. And they wanted that to be clarified, like our public works
This is-
department wants separate
We
connection for.
wanted this at or
This is already in the code now, the duplex standard, so I just was adding triplexes to say they each need a connection too.
but I thought we would change the language a little bit to like, or.
Okay, so yeah, it says duplex and triplex dwellings shall be. But I thought, what I'm wondering is. Do we
want to make it more like the ADU?
need chapter title 1836.045
Or you would never get it,
at all?
you'd never get a duplex built in the ADU. You don't change.
I mean,
We'd have to make. the
is it
language
not
change.
obvious that they need separate water and sewer connections?
So that means
In
in
the
No,
unit?
it
Or
is.
you not?
the UGA.
It actually is not. We
Okay.
had the one for Upper Valley Men just came in, their duplex, and they tried to do one step out. And we are like, no, you need two. It said, and this was the only place we could hang our hat on to tell them they needed
Well,
two.
we can just put it in the regular.
I thought we had like where available.
That's under the ADU. We
But
moved that.
Yeah, it's
so that
under ADU and
code was
multifamily, so it's
900
not
square feet
subject
or
to
less.
Can we copy the ADU code here though?
But we,
But we moved that to Title 14.
So can we strike it from here and refer back to 14?
I have to open up another, it's not in the zoning code, so. Sorry, I just want to see where it was. Here,
I could just see the wormhole of the county interpreting every ADU as a duplex.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
exactly.
yeah,
where
we
you're
don't want that.
sorry, I'm trying to remember where required connections, I think is where it is. Except within the city's urban growth area.
Private ADU. Resident. Yeah, so wasn't it something about referring to the health department? standards?
It just says, except in the city's UGA, they have to be connected to separate water and sewer. We accepted out everything in the UGA.
Why?
Because then they can figure out with health districts, they're on well and septic.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Their well and septic covers
Okay, that
everything.
makes
we
sense.
don't
So
care.
there was like a solid year of the county not permitting ADUs within the UGA because they were like, oh, it'd have to be on city sewer. And you're like, there's no city sewer here.
So like
So
this
they
would
just work
be, if there's a duplex and you're in the, they want to build a duplex in the UGA, it's up to the health district. Like this is just saying they need
Mhm.
only in the city limits. Do you need to?
Cause you could potentially do, I mean, and especially if it says all separate services, like what, are you gonna make them do 2 wells? Like, that's, nobody does that.
Can't-
There's often like 5 houses on a well, like you're not putting a duplex on.
Yeah, it's not even the
separate.
same property.
Yeah.
In my neighborhood, there's like a
Let, what,
mile run to one well.
Andy's out until next week, but I could talk like next Wednesday, I think, Thursday.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we can add duplexes and triplexes to that required connections and strike it from Title 18
Yeah, I would like to have it here.
and just only put it in 14.
Because we don't have to change the language every single time we do anything.
Yeah,
I I didn't even think about it because that hasn't come up, hasn't been a problem yet. That's currently for duplexes.
Because nobody has tried to do a duplex in the UGA.
Yeah, well, my fear is the county's gonna say every ADU is a duplex. And for this.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I need to, sorry, I just want to make sure when I listen to this again, I'm catching everything. So I need to make sure we have a definition for facade. I need to remove, just totally eliminate 1836, what was it?
045.
045 and add requirements.
Well, I'm questioning my statement about striking that entire chapter because I was looking at A, there's A and B. We should strike
We
B,
should strike B.
but A says conversions of existing structures should be allowed in conformance with 18 point. Blah, blah, non-conforming provisions, accepting setbacks. So like there's some deviations that we may not want to eliminate.
I think just strike B and refer to it in 1414.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Strike B and move to 1414.
Yeah.
Sorry. James, I'm all over the place and I don't know what screen I'm sharing, so I really apologize to you today.
I'm following. I've just got a sleeping baby, so.
Oh.
I wish I was using my laptop. It's here, I don't know. It's moved. It doesn't let me make a note there, so, oh well. I wrote it here on my paper copy. Thank goodness for a paper copy today.
Yeah.
Okay. The other section. Okay, let me go out of this. Is. Oh, district use chart, I just added. the use and made it the same as single family and duplex.
Yep.
And it's
Makes
allowed in,
sense.
does that work for
That makes
everybody?
sense.
And then I added the definitions to align with, state law. It's currently triplex is not even defined, so I kept it consistent with how we define duplex. So it says dwelling, triplex, or three-family dwelling. It's the same as when we say dwelling, duplex, or two-family dwelling. Are you guys okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay,
That makes sense.
so the,
Well, do we need to say where it's not like this definition, it's a triplex if it doesn't fall into the ADU category?
I don't think. We now have defined attached and detached ADU, like with our last update, so I think it's pretty clear when it's an accessory dwelling unit versus a triplex. I mean, because I could see if somebody came in and they did triplex and each of them was 1,200 square feet, I could call it a house and two ADUs. It's gonna have the same standards as them too. Unless they were all 900 square feet, and then we'd have to figure out water sewer. But I mean, we make
yeah.
we make those kind of, I don't think it'll be super confusing for anyone.
Okay,
Like the Stafford Street was a unit, it was a 2 lots and they did a 0 lot line home with attached ADUs, even though it looks like a 4-plex. So
Have
it's
any
kind
of
of
those
semantic. What?
Have any of those sold?
I don't know.
I think so. I think a couple of them sold.
Yeah, I think so.
so I was
How these work.
curious about something.
Yeah.
Just a little bit further down, you've got manufactured home designated and manufactured home / mobile home.
Yep.
What's the difference?
One is, I have to get to the definitions page. Because designated is the one where it has to be, like, it can't be 3 years. Well, it can't be over 3 years old. It has to be new off a lot, not previously titled. But a mobile home,
It basically, if it's designated, then it has gone through a more extensive approval process than
Okay.
like somebody buying.
and it's from state law,
And
like it's
also
a
like-
definition from the RCW.
Okay.
I mean, when did that come into play? Like 2012 or? I don't know.
Was that before we were on the planning commission? I thought we dealt with a manufactured home, state law change.
Nope, that we just went past it.
One of the boards.
Maybe it was before.
It has to be 2 fully enclosed parallel sections. Yeah, I don't know.
It's only one sale that's
Oh,
actually
yeah.
gone through.
To be
670.
Okay.
So these are, so I guess the designated is
Huh.
after 76, a manufactured home mobile is pre-76, I believe.
Okay.
And then the manufactured home new is where it has to be like not previously titled. And that's where we have that in our state. It's all wonky. There's.
Wow.
But that's like real estate. Simon was talking about how like, you're,
That's a no.
like you can't get a loan or anything if it's not like a designated manufactured.
And we haven't
Did
touched our
you-
manufactured home. And we still call it the manufactured home parks, and they're now called manufactured home communities. We haven't touched that since the 80s either. Could use a cleanup. But not today.
Nope, that's fine. That's fine.
So that gets me, I think, enough through, and again, sorry that if you had to regurgitate some stuff that you already discussed, I just needed clarification. So I think I have good direction from you guys, on those. The next, do you want to move on?
Yeah, I think so.
Are we okay with setting a public hearing? If I make those changes, do you want to try to do a hearing on this or do you want to push it out to January?
We've been talking about this for 3 months. I think it's time.
Yeah, okay. We'll go ahead and set it. Okay, were you guys able to come up with a parking, anything?
I don't think we did anything.
No, I thought, so this was one we were waiting for. What were we waiting for? We were waiting for a definition of something.
I think we were waiting for Elizabeth to give us
Was it the price?
numbers.
Was it me?
So like.
No, I thought that we were gonna,
I had notes that said the planning commission was gonna do something, so I don't have anything.
No,
Definitely Elizabeth then.
oh, I don't remember that at all, but
Well, I feel like
I'm happy
when we talked to the council, we were all like, yeah, we should do a fee in lieu. And they're like, so what do you think the fee should be? And we're like, why are you asking us?
No,
Yeah, I thought we were gonna get
it's
the,
a nexus.
the Nexus, is it
Yeah,
a combined
so there's
Nexus study?
And then we started talking about, well, how many, like, are we asking for the right number of parking spaces and like the parking
Because I think it's old.
table, it's very old and like it doesn't match our district use chart anymore. It doesn't
Right.
match anything. It's just this very arbitrary, like, a museum should have this many, and you're like, that, what?
We don't even have
What?
museum listed, is it?
Not anything, like, is it an assembly use? Is it a, mercantile
We
use?
almost
Like,
need-
that's how you classify things, so. So we talked about redoing our, like, having a chart that matches
The-
other
The district
things
use.
in the code, district use chart and or like IBC occupancy definitions, and then Elizabeth said that she had access to some sort of
Oh, yeah.
number.
I mean, but I thought you said you were gonna get the consultants to work on that with the whatever. study.
Yeah, I thought we were waiting for next, like some update on Nexus, something.
What's the next study gonna
Plus
come
an
up with, or
update.
like,
Well, no, the first thing we need to do is come up with the list, like. Of what we want if I send a list of uses to the consultant that are public works or engineering consultants. I need to have the list of what I want them to compare to, like. I need the, yeah, and so that's, I guess I got relayed from Celeste that you guys were gonna come up with the list that I could then give to. The consultants, so there was some,
Come up with the list. Shouldn't it just be the district use chart or?
well, you kind of have to combine them, like that's gonna be a really long
Planning.
list if you list out something for every. Single use, so you almost have to group them like single family and duplex and triplex is all this and.
well, I mean, already we have like residential, so I think it's more commercial.
Some of the commercial uses just don't make sense.
Yeah, so the commercial uses, but that's not. I mean, to some extent, it correlates with the district use chart, I guess, but also it's like IRC occupancies, I think, is like.
Yeah, it's kind of. a
That's how
combination.
you're calculating the number of users. But then for traffic, for parking, it's like trip counts or whatever, instead of like. Just straight occupancy numbers, which is like how many people at any given time. And I don't understand how those two things interact at all, because I only deal with the IBC things. I don't know anything about traffic.
Yeah, I just think some of these are off. I mean, I could just go ahead and send this to. Like, if we just had places of assembly and instead of. Breaking them up.
I mean, I guess, yeah. A lot of that could be matching our district use chart.
What is this, 14? Okay.
Yeah, I can just go ahead and send it off and see what they can come back with. But I know as they're working on the parking garage, feasibility right now, they are coming up with numbers for what like a stall would cost. So I think we're gonna at least have that
We need
number
that baseline.
for the
yeah.
fee in
I mean-
lieu of. I just think like you brought up that point, the council, the last council meeting during the study session about parking.
Yeah.
And like how if we were to put a pool at Osborne, it would require X number of spaces when really it doesn't need that much. We need to amend our code
Yeah.
to make it more reflective of what's reasonable and necessary.
And the fact that like, yeah, for that big of a facility. In Leavenworth, you'd need 120 spaces and in Wenatchee, you would need 80.
Well,
Like, that's a very big
well,
discrepancy.
a lot of the change depends on like how much uses can work together, right? So like the peak time of the swimming pool would be different than the peak time for like the meeting spaces or, other things, right? And so a lot of it has to do with that overlap and also and who's visiting the same thing at once, like what's the overlap between the library and the pool, and like what's the overlap between that? So you only park once. And then the other thing that is related is like, when is the peak time for that happening? So is the peak time related use? And then the other one that is related is just the mode split for that use. So like people who are, residing in a hotel downtown aren't gonna drive from Front Street to Commercial Street to go to dinner. Or I mean, some of them might, but.
You would hope not.
You would hope not.
It would be unwise.
Yeah, so maybe there's more language in something like that, like we have this whole section on joint use permitted, and that was typically when like they're operating at different hours, like, yeah, we're not gonna double dip, but.
Like the
but
Triplex
there's-
bank,
but we
but
should
There's
add
three
more to
things
it.
of like that, and so like you basically are reducing the parking use factor by that amount of overlap for each of those uses. So if we're just talking about the downtown core, then I think that there is the question of like, okay, so who's creating the parking demand? Is it the restaurant or is it the hotel? And like, probably it's the hotel with a little bit of extra from the restaurant for people that aren't like staying in the hotel, right? So like, and those, like the amount that you attribute to each of those, is essentially mostly a judgment call. There's like ranges that are available in here, but the ranges are like so vast. It's like the appropriate range is like from 0.3 to 1. And it's like, use your engineering judgment to ascertain. So really it's like a judgment call. Just letting you know that it's not hard and fast.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and even if we send it to the consultant and say, hey. Can you run these back? I don't know. Even just analyze.
I mean,
what
I'm
we
looking
have.
at it, right? I'm looking at the numbers right now and like, we're within range, but like one birth for every 50,000
That's loading.
square feet. That's low.
No, that's the loading zones, I think, if it says that.
It says, loading births. You're right. I was like, that's not right.
Yeah.
It's like, that's really low. Where's okay. Oh,
Yeah, our code is also sort of disorganized, but now I'm looking at Wenatchee's code again, and I'm
archery
like, where
club.
is parking?
I guess there's some archery at the fish hatchery, which is not, okay. So our, eating or drinking establishment, 1 stall per 100 square feet, and like quality restaurant is like. The average is like 10.5 per 1,000 square feet, which is like,
Pretty
which is,
close.
Close to the
100.
1 to 100.
yeah. So they're, I mean. Are,
Does it say at the beginning of all this if it's net or gross?
in terms of square feet, I don't know.
Well, and can we put some,
It says floor area, so if that
Hmm. I guess
clarifies anything, I don't know.
that can still be net or gross.
Oh, gross floor area,
Okay.
I see it now.
mean, I guess even looking at these, if we're within a range, are there some that it's just like way off? Like Allison, what would we use here for a community center?
Well, I would say that the eating and drinking establishments were on par for like what the average is without any of the the range is like 50% below and 50% above that, right? And so like I would argue that, that average rate is for a general suburban restaurant. We're not a general suburban facility. So like what is the internal rate of capture for parking here? Like it's probably, during most times like 40 to 50% during peak time. So like, reduce that by 50% essentially is what you're supposed to do. So. And then does that parking then overlap with any of the other time periods? Yes. So, I mean, I don't think there's any reason to reduce it there. And then like, are people who are coming here from town and from outside of like Wenatchee, are they like, what percentage of them are not coming and driving? I'd say a large percentage of people who live in town, but not sure that they're going during peak times either. So I don't know, like 90% of that. So like, I don't know, we're probably over by 100%. Like we probably need to reduce it by half. Would be my back of the envelope guesstimate.
Where is this? So why is,
Okay, well, now I'm clear that I'm going to send this to, I'll talk to our, public works director there. Andy and Brantley are both out until next Wednesday, so I'll follow up with them next week on this one.
it appears to me that Wenatchee's parking requirements is in a table that matches their district use chart.
That's
And I
what
feel
would be
like that's
nice.
kind of step one.
It makes it cleaner and easier.
Yeah, they also have a chapter, they have a separate chapter, alternative parking analysis.
What's I think there's a question I have on parking though, is like, what is the outcome we are seeking? Besides just rewriting it to realign it, are we incentivizing people? Our goal is to incentivize a state where we'll be charging a fee in lieu, right?
Yeah.
That is our ultimate goal.
Goal is fee in lieu, and we want to make sure that we're charging the right amount, not overcharge, like some of these.
Not over or undercharging. The
Right, so
commercial uses, but
think-
also just for
Outside of that,
outside of that area, just that we're not requiring people to put in larger parking lots than are necessary.
Right, so that's
also
the second,
that we're
that's a
not-
secondary goal. So I think we need to make sure that we keep those two goals isolated. One is we don't want town paved. Right,
Yeah.
and two is we want to find a way to build equitable revenue, but from a business perspective that they feel is benefiting them, but also benefiting the city's parking plan.
yes.
So I think we have to decouple them a little bit, but that it's I do think the first thing is, Maggie, yeah, align the chart, align the use chart with the parking standards. And then we can, I don't know how we solve people will knee-jerk reaction, just go pave a piece of property, right? If it's in the code and they're allowed to do it in order to not pay the city. That's the businesses, that's potentially a knee-jerk reaction we'll get from businesses in town.
I don't know, yeah. There's some though that just they want to have their business and they don't have room for parking.
I would say the majority of sites, the majority of properties where this will apply in the.
There's nowhere to build anything.
So there's, there's no option for them to provide parking. It's just doesn't exist.
Well, and right now, all the central commercial zone gets a free pass unless they're building a hotel, motel or something or a home apartments. That require the parking regardless, but a lot of them don't have to put in parking, whereas like somebody, if you walks down in the general commercial would have to. So it's just kind of an equity thing too. Gives them an option.
Oh, Allison, about gross versus net. Our thing says, for the purposes of eating and drinking establishment parking calculations, the net floor area shall be used.
I knew there was some net calculation that I was like, that's some BS, honestly. Like, it's just because when you start getting into like net floor area, like that's,
And all
that
of
means you get
the,
to pull out, like in a restaurant, the space
It's like
taken by the
everything.
host stand. The space taken by
Yeah,
the kitchen, the space that's like the hallway to the bathroom. You get to take out a lot when you start getting into net calculations. And they need to know that they have room, that they're providing, like on a site where it is feasible to provide parking and they have the parking, like you need to know how much parking you're going to need, like earlier in the process than the point in the process where you're deciding how big of a host stand you're putting in, you know?
Yeah.
And then people start doing weird stuff in their restaurant to be like, this doesn't count as floor area
And
because
the parking generation,
out,
only
you
uses
know?
gross floor area, so that's just a different,
Yeah.
just FYI.
Yeah, and so there shouldn't be like net floor areas in parking requirements,
Agree.
if that's avoidable.
And it does make it hard. We do pre-apps with people and we're like, well, we don't have a floor plan yet, like,
Right.
here's the code, like,
Yeah.
this is how much you
Do
might
we even
need.
know if this is feasible before we, we have to
Yeah.
do a floor plan
Versus
before
if
we
it's
know.
gross,
like-
you can be like, well, this is
Yeah.
the footprint we're working with, you can
Totally.
approximate close enough, you can get pretty close,
Yeah.
but net is like, yeah, no.
And we still have a flexibility in the code too, where if somebody provides their own parking analysis
Study,
from,
yeah.
parking study, that they can use that if it's approved by the
Yeah.
city engineer.
Yeah.
So I like that we have some flexibility in there too. Where
Yeah, but we
sometimes
should just have reasonable ones here.
we really should, but it's not a one size fits all. Sometimes we get things like adventure park or other things where
Sure,
it's just a weird use that we're not gonna have a specific,
Yeah,
I don't know. We ran into that with the springs out there, like what
Yeah.
spaces do we use as your parking?
yeah. Oh, I think in the pool, like under if you scroll down, pools are under commercial amusement, I believe.
yeah. Outdoor
Which again,
commercial
it's like,
amusement
okay.
Enterprise.
But it's about.
Sorry, do you want me?
Archery club, gun club, tennis club, swimming club, or similar athletic club. So I'm like, well, is that what you would use to calculate space for a public pool?
No,
But
it's
one-
not actually, because it's a different use in the.
Right, because it's a swimming club, but then it says one stall, wait, go back up.
Oh, sorry.
One stall per 100 square feet of floor area in clubhouse or 300 square feet of ground area, whichever requirement is greater. And you're like, wait, per one stall per 300 square feet of ground area for a archery club. Like
Yeah,
that's a lot of ground
Or,
area.
yeah,
Like that's kind
exactly.
of bonkers.
yeah.
Like that doesn't, when you think of the amount of people per ground area in an archery
Well-
club, you're like, that's
Well, we don't have an
weird.
archery club, but I mean,
And I
it
don't
makes
think that's
sense that
even
you would
allowed, like,
calculate it
gun
based
clubs
on
aren't
that for
allowed.
like tennis club, but like, why not? If you're doing a tennis club,
But
you know
like-
how many
but
tennis
I mean, like,
courts there are, you do
tennis,
it based on that.
Swimming, gun club, like these are not
And then a community,
terrible
yeah.
uses in terms of area. per
Nor do we
person.
have them here. But
Yeah, why wouldn't
Yeah.
you like, go off of an occupancy number versus a floor space number?
Well, because it's easier to determine floor space when you're approving plans as
I
opposed
think that
to.
kind of goes back to like occupancy, like the IBC has its own occupancy tables and a lot of those are net and that's more about like egress and door size and hallway size. And I think
Interior
And-
architecture.
yeah, a lot of that
Yeah.
is, again, it's kind of like saying that parking should be based on net area, and you're like, I don't know the net square area yet, I'm just determining my parking requirement,
And
you know,
sometimes,
so
like,
it's like.
yeah.
You don't want it to be too granular, and the occupancy calculations are pretty granular,
Sure.
even though in a lot of ways it would make sense.
I also think like a
That's the
community
physical
center and
amount of
community
people that-
pool would be different than a
No, it'd be
commercial.
different. It's different in the ITE parking generation manual. They specify different things for like private clubs versus community.
Like-
Centers,
Like this is
That would
auditorium, gymnasium, public assembly.
all those things are technically
Yeah.
different here, but I mean, that doesn't mean that they're not gonna end up with similar numbers based on. You know,
I do like, I'm a fan of the charts. I think it's easy to direct people to say like, okay, where's my thing? how much parking do I need? But. And maybe I just like put the work on them and say, here's our use chart, here's our current code, we're trying to figure out parking. Oh,
I mean, that'd be great if somebody wants to do that for us.
It gives a baseline and we can kind of make it.
yeah, I can at least get a cost estimate, figure out.
I think that more than anything, if we can get the cost per stall, that's gonna give us.
And I'm waiting on that with our parking eval right now.
Right. So I would say that we probably table this until we get that back, because then we can kind of reverse engineer some of this.
So we want it to be feasible for people to be able to develop too and to,
Correct, and we also want it to be tied to reality. So
Right.
we could create all these numbers and assumptions, but if it's not even in line with what it's gonna cost to do the parking garage, what's the point?
okay. So put a pin in that one. I threw in your lot split survey here.
It's third.
So we're not in a rush to do this. We do have to have it adopted by May 20th of 2027. This is just another form. I called Commerce to ask for guidance because they put out their guidance on co-living and unit lot subdivision. They're still working. They have a draft, but it hasn't been released yet.
Okay.
And I really want their guidance before we try to tackle something.
Yep.
Because it makes it so much cleaner and easier, and they usually have like a base code that you can kind of. But from what I'm reading is the lot split survey is another option for subdivision. Where you can, but you would have to, if you were in RL6, you still have to have at least 12,000 square feet. You can seg off one portion of the lot to have two 6,000 square foot lots. And you can build whatever's allowed in that zone. So you could build, if we pass triplexes, you could split it off and then build a triplex here. Just like a standard subdivision, but it would go through a faster process that could be concurrent with a building permit. And it's recorded as a survey. You don't have to go through, you just have to meet certain criteria and then it gets recorded as a survey, almost like a.
Like a BLA.
Yeah, almost like a BLA or like a certificate of exemption at the county where
Okay.
they record the survey and if it meets this, then it's good.
Does it still have to meet all the other requirements for a lot? Because right now, they're like, there's 12,000 square foot lots and they're like, well, I can't subdivide because I wouldn't have 60 foot of frontage.
Yeah, I think it's easier. I think you still have to have the right that you can't be under
Dimensional
6,000. You still have to have some dimensional standards.
But do you have to meet all the dimensional standards?
It's whatever you put in the code. So I think, sorry, I have way too many code sections here.
Like, be an interesting way around R3 zoning.
That's true.
Be like, yeah, you're actually allowed to split your 6,000 square foot lot in half.
So, and
But
then
I mean, in a way, you're already allowed to do that. So if
the
it's underlying zoning.
other part of this, so it talks about, coming up with a simple process. So you can't create more than one lot using this process, so it's a one-time thing. So the lot can then be split again and again and again, it's like a done deal. Parent lot, newly created lot need to meet the minimum lot size allowed under the applicable development regs. Parent lot is located in a residential zone and not in an exclusively non-residential zone. Like commercial, ag, or industrial. If it ends up that the lot split would require demolition and it could displace a renter, then the applicant has to recommend a displacement mitigation strategy. So anyway, you have to check all the boxes when you're reviewing this. But it is pretty cool that you could submit a building permit and do it at the same time and then just record the survey. It's a lot faster process. I still wanted, I had some questions about, well, would I do it like a BLA? Because that's a limited administrative review. I don't do a public comment period or anything versus a full administrative review like I do on a short plat. So that was one of the questions that I didn't get clarified with Commerce. So that's why I'm waiting for the guidance. But it's something we have to adopt. The second half of the House bill is only applies to larger communities, so we don't have to do that, some of the missing middle housing requirements. But basically, we just have to adopt a process for the lot split survey, so we will be working on that. And we can do it next year. I was relieved to hear that it's not like by the end of the year. One thing that did come up that it kind of has to do with other items, but the co-living requirements. We're supposed to adopt those by the end of this year, or we just default to the state requirements. Which I think are pretty straightforward. And so if we end up not making the deadline for co-living, I think the standards.
What are the standards? Like, I guess, what about the standards is like not something we already allow?
So currently, like, we don't clarify co-living in our code, like, we don't differentiate it from multifamily. And so, like, let's say the efficiency apartments, there's a lot of different terminology and definitions. And so we wouldn't want to treat co-living, like, I actually just got something that's really similar to this behind City Hall. We got a multifamily development.
The one that's like 8 bedrooms and a kitchen on
Yes.
each level?
Which is co-living, but we don't define that. So I have to keep making interpretations like, well, I'm going to consider it multifamily, but I'm not going to make you have a parking space for every single one of those rooms. Because it's just like bedrooms in a house. I wouldn't make somebody do that.
Right.
Whereas co-living per the state requirements, they do like like every room is a quarter of a parking space. So for every 4 bedrooms, you need 1 parking space. Which if it's 8 bedrooms on one, that would be 2 for each floor. I mean, they're going to provide more than that, but it just gives clear guidance on how to do like, we don't differentiate co-living from multifamily, and I think we need to. And I would recommend like just adopting the guidance they share because it seems pretty reasonable.
So if we don't adopt something by
December,
Okay.
then we're just gonna go with whatever they have and then eventually adopt it. But it has to be applicable in all like multifamily zones.
I mean, in theory, we could just adopt the state code, and should we want to revisit it, we could make amendments
Yeah.
and go through the process in the future, yeah?
I just wanted to bring it up because it would be cool to clearly define it, because it would be so much easier to process what I have now. I mean, I'm finding a way to process it. I'm calling it like a boarding house, which is allowed in a multifamily zone. And I'm doing the parking based on just single family home, two per for each floor, two parking spaces.
Do you think we could review the state code in December and be like, oh,
Yeah,
we want to
That's what
like,
I was thinking, like, just so you know what's coming, but we don't have.
I mean,
I can,
or,
even if
or should
I
we
can
just,
send this out and you guys can just,
if we reviewed it, we wouldn't be able to go ahead.
wouldn't
and have
adopt
a
it in
hearing or
time.
adopt it, right? So,
yeah, so it doesn't matter.
but I think
But it sounds
it
like
now or
we're
later.
de facto adopting it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, but
so-
if we wanted to do something different, we could.
we'd have to do it today.
We have, yeah, so that we can have a
Well, but
hearing.
if we adopted something afterwards that was slightly different, but still met the codes, would it just
Right, we
be
can-
like?
I can always change
You
it.
can always change
we
it.
can
You can always
default to
make
the
it
state.
less
Yeah, right, we
restrictive.
default to the state until we,
If we want to visit
Sure.
it in next year, we can, yes.
yeah, so it sounds like it's not that big of a deal if we're.
Well, it sounds like we should review it the next meeting to see if we want to agendize it in the future.
Yeah,
To add
Like to the docket. It should
Yeah.
be on the docket, I would think, next year, because we're looking at development regs after adoption of the comp plan, and it definitely is something we want to have in there because it is something that's becoming more I get a lot of questions about this kind of living, and
Okay, let's
Yeah.
review in December, but
Okay.
ultimately, we're gonna default to state code, and then we can revisit. Should we want to make any tweaks?
sounds good.
What is our comp plan deadline? What are we waiting for?
It's December of next year.
December of next year.
They pushed it out 6 months.
I was thinking that felt later than.
It was gonna be
And I'm
June.
like, I feel like it was
I was like.
coming right up, so.
We are working through like housing, land use. Parks is taking longer because we're actually doing a parks and recreation plan.
Cool.
So that So they're kind of dividing it into chunks and they'll probably be bringing land use and housing early, like in January, February, to like look at the draft. And then they'll have the, you know, I don't remember what, I don't remember the order, but it's gonna be coming in chunks to review. I think that helps, rather than getting here's the entire comp plan, to be able to kind of review little bits at a time will be helpful. So we'll kind of go month by month, digging into it. What makes sense, what doesn't make sense, what do we need to change? They still think we're gonna get done by June or July. So we'd be ahead of the curve, and then we start working on the regulations to meet those goals and policies. But we want to make sure the goals and policies align with what we want to do with housing and
Yeah.
it's
This is sort of a very poorly formed thought, but just a heads up. So when we got all the data from the consultant in the county that were like, here's your housing data. And then we just sort of approved it, even though we had lots and lots and lots of questions and concerns. And the main thing was when they came up with like, what are your housing targets? It was just like, oh, let's just project what you're already doing. So you need mostly new homes for people above 120% AMI, because that's what you've already been doing. And we're like, whoa, that's not the goal. So at what point do we get to like kind of revisit that? Because then I know that there was a process where that like went to the county and it like was included in like county data or something. I don't know what, but like it had to go back to the county and that's why we didn't mess with it. And now I'm like, is that what we're basing things in the comp plan on?
so we have to base it on like these calculations that were done by the county has to give us our
Like allocations.
allocations. So we are stuck with whatever the county gave us because that's the way we decided to do the process. So I think we got the same allocations as Chelan and some of the other smaller communities. We can, and I think what they're doing is they're pulling that data, but then they're saying this isn't really reflective of what actually is occurring here because we're unique. So I think there's going to be like, yeah, some data that is like, this is the best available data we have because we don't have this.
Right.
It was like kind of some of the rent data and the home ownership data. It was like for Leavenworth, the whole 98826, not just Leavenworth.
Yeah.
But
But also like the consultants that are going to come up with various drafts that we'll review, like they already know what our concerns were.
yes,
With those numbers.
yes. And I had some concerns and so did the council. So there, you'll see some
Yeah.
changes. But we are stuck with some things.
Yeah.
That are just,
Yeah, I mean, I thought we,
because it said like, we have enough affordable housing. Well, we really don't need more. Like, yes, we have a lot for how small of a community we are, but it's not enough.
I thought what we had to do was we had to placate those numbers and say the county recommends this, this, and this, and then we were gonna basically add our own subsection, but
Yeah.
our target is actually
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
without-
based on the data, it says this, but in actuality, we're gonna do this. So we can always do more and do something different. It's just saying this is the minimum, this is what you have to meet.
Yeah.
We're gonna go further. And these are base our goals on policies on what we want to see.
To not just upset the county, we have to say their recommended target is.
Yeah.
And then below that, but we're gonna shoot for.
Yeah, like here's the data, here's the minimums, we're gonna exceed the minimums by
Yeah.
doing this, because this is what we need. And so that'll be shown in our goals and policies.
So they already know that, like, nobody's gonna come to us with a draft that's like, hey, here's a bunch of stuff based on this data, and we'll be like, this is terrible.
No,
and
a lot of it's gonna be about
Yeah.
meet the housing and
Yeah.
middle housing and different options. And,
Cool.
yeah. That was the goal, and that was what the last few times I've talked with them. I think we're all on the same page. They're trying to push the R3 zoning. They think that would be really beneficial. But
Yeah.
not push, but like I have a draft zoning map and it includes R3. So the comp plan, they're doing a whole
The comp-
multifamily, so these different zones so that we could plan for doing R3 eventually, and it'll already align with our comp.
So we have a little more leverage.
Yeah, so the comp plan is planning for that change.
Okay.
So we don't have to go amend our comp plan again. So the map can be different than the zoning. The map be like, here's our general residential zone.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, right.
But I'm bringing a draft zoning map to the community engagement night this month. They can see where the R3 would be, where
Soft launch.
we're looking at some public zones for like public parks, public schools, PUD sites, city sites, so that it allows for ease and development of those for public uses, like our community center. It would be better to have it be zoned to public and not just park. We want to have all these other uses. Anyway,
I have more to say on that when we're not being recorded.
okay. Unless that's not a good idea. We want it to be park.
I mean,
Yeah,
as
well,
long as we're reviewing all the uses that are allowed in each zone.
that's what we're gonna, well, it would be a brand new zone.
Yeah.
So that's where we look at the uses that
Yeah.
would make sense.
Because right now we have like recreation and then recreation public.
Yeah.
Which do have different
So
uses allowed, and it. Yeah, mostly works for what we have, but.
and also looking at adaptive reuse of buildings too.
Mhm.
When I first got here, I got a lot of calls about that. Anyway, I'll talk later because I'm going off on a tangent. I don't want to waste your time.
So last thing is to kind of start thinking about docket again.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just so you know, I put out an ad, like every October, I put out an ad that says, not have to, but the process is I put out an ad and it runs weekly through the end of the year, asking people for their like, what do you want to be city sponsored on the docket? And the council has the opportunity to look at those and go, okay, yeah, we want to move this forward and we'll sponsor it. Or people can submit their own that maybe we wouldn't sponsor and they run it through.
How many people, wait, like do you run an ad in the paper?
Yeah.
How many people just send you random stuff? How many things do you get that's
I
like
get nothing,
nothing?
nothing.
Okay,
And yet you keep posting, yeah, legally.
I legally have to.
I mean,
Oh,
yeah, it's
well,
worth it. I mean, yeah, I mean, the KOA thing has been on the docket since
I think we dropped it, didn't we?
I've been
think we
here, and then
dropped
it
it.
finally, well, yeah, I mean, it finally just dropped off, but that was just somebody that was like, hey, excuse me.
I don't even
And
remember
I
what they
don't know
wanted
if
to do.
anybody, I don't think,
either.
I think we never addressed it because nobody really knew what they wanted.
Yeah,
And they.
I don't remember. I
Yeah.
was,
And we were like, I don't know, camping regulations.
so I think
would
they should
find
have to
us.
submit something that's very clear. This is what I want. This is how it aligns with,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So I've had a few things brought to me by like the mayor or, what did I say? One of them was our fence code and wanting to eliminate the requirement for the non-combustible material within 4 feet of the house.
It's a terrible idea.
The mayor
Eliminate
came
the
to me and
requirement?
asked me to look into removing that
Yeah,
requirement.
and fences fences are freaking expensive.
So that will be something that
I don't,
I'm sure
like,
comes before you guys.
landlord is gonna burn. People
I don't
need
know, you
to,
really think the
people
fence
need
is
to
gonna be
accept that.
a.
It can, 100%.
Fence is gonna
So
be.
some of the docket suggestions I've been, that have been brought up at other meetings is formula retail. Which,
What?
Say formula retail?
formula
Yeah.
retail,
What is?
I don't know what
What
that
is
means.
that?
it's like where you limit the types of businesses that like, so you don't get a coach or
I love Coach.
I'm just trying, like, in your downtown.
They're
It's just-
changed.
Yeah, basically
They changed, like can we
Oh,
add another
it
Starbucks?
limits-
Can we add another
It
Rocky
limits
Mountain Chocolate
change.
Factory
change.
in Cold Stone?
Oh,
It's something that was brought up by, I think, Troy at the chamber during a downtown steering committee meeting. We did run it by legal. They, I don't think would recommend it. just
Yeah,
because
no, it's
potential
really hard to
litigation.
administer.
So the
Very
chamber
hard.
is pro, yeah.
Of course they are. They want to
Oh, yeah.
protect their existing
protect
businesses.
those
I do
business.
not pretend to understand how.
They want it to, yeah, it's to keep it more community businesses, less change.
Zero competition.
Anyway, that was just something that was brought up that was up for discussion that might come
Okay.
to us next year. We talked about short-term rental regulations. We talked about the fence code and
Have we
updating.
had any, change want to develop here? It seems like a
I haven't.
unrealized.
In,
Yeah.
I mean, they're hotels.
I mean, we have
There's
like
like two
La
chains.
Quinta and
La
Oh,
Quinta,
the
Hampton
hotels
Inn,
and Safeway, although if
Safeway,
that would be.
Starbucks.
Do we know, have we filled up our
McDonald's,
bed and
yeah.
breakfast permits?
Not yet.
Do we know where we're at with that?
We're not capped yet.
Really? Oh. That's
I
impressive.
was just
Just
wondering if we.
Passed another one, or we just had a hearing on one.
No formula retail place would want to develop in the restrictions of here,
Oh,
but they
yeah,
could go
too.
to Greenfield,
Impressive,
somewhere
yeah.
else. Yeah.
So, anyway, I'm just sharing with you what's been brought up to me.
Starbucks came up with a special logo.
So you
We
may-
still have CUP criteria, parking,
Starbucks. good one.
R3 zoning still. Parks code, we're working on our Parks and Rec plan and looking at, I think somebody who wanted to do like yoga in the parks and make profit, like, being able to allow commercial uses in our parks. That was something that they wanted to look at.
My son would like to sell snow cones.
Never gonna happen.
That's
gotta compete with-
one of the council members brought up marijuana retail. Because currently our Title
Okay,
V
high
doesn't
school.
allow anything that's against federal
Oh,
law.
no, he would be fine
To be
working for
a
Shea
business.
Bicycle. He just demands snow cones.
they want limited or?
No, they want to allow it.
So he's happy to turn the thing.
Right now it's not allowed.
allowed.
And then I added the co-living housing on here. But yeah, that fence, both, I think Selby and the mayor brought up the fence thing to me, and said, we need to look at changing this. We did put that into the code before we adopted a WUI code.
Cause it wouldn't be allowed by WUI anyways, right?
It's not in, it's, the
But
WUI code
what,
doesn't talk about fencing.
it doesn't?
So, okay.
That was something that was put in by the fire district. It was like 2019 when we first
Yeah.
looked at that. And then we adopted WUI code in
Pre-WUI.
2021.
I mean, how would you enforce that anyways? That's like,
Well, we do fence permit.
Yeah,
So right now, when somebody gets a fence permit, we say, what's your material gonna be in the 4 feet next to your house? And they don't like the idea that they have to put metal or
but isn't there, well,
you could use what's the equivalent of fire?
Hollywood,
board or.
Yeah.
There's also a. tree
Hollywood.
You can.
that's the only thing you're allowed to use
Allowed
for
to paint
decking
onto it,
material.
though,
Yeah,
Because it has to be reapplied and there's no way for us to.
regulate that.
But right now, people are just leaving off the gate and then they'll put on something else later. It means like you can't have your vinyl fence all the way up to your house. You can't have your wood fence all the way up to your house. You'd have to, that 4 feet needs to be something that's not gonna burn. The idea is if your house catches
I
on
know
fire,
exactly,
doesn't
yeah.
catch the fence. We have an example of somebody whose house. burned
Embers are
down.
gonna travel more than 4 feet, so I'm just saying.
And it caught the fence on fire and then the neighbor's house burned. Because the fence is what did it, but. If we're building to more of a WUI standard, does the fence really matter? I don't, that's the questions I'm getting, so. There was also, discussion about group
Seems
vehicle.
like if we're doing that, we should talk to the,
Yeah,
Fire.
having-
Oh, 100%,
I mean,
yeah.
the fire department is what brought it to us in the first place. and
Yeah.
I think I remember that,
I remember
Okay.
that.
yeah.
So definitely, when I went back and reviewed the why, it was definitely the fire district that
Okay.
actually wanted that.
What?
But there's different people, there's different codes now, it's just, they
we
want
can
to
talk about the vegetation standards.
Yes.
too. Yes.
Yes.
Also extremely hard to regulate.
Yep.
We'd only be able to regulate it if it
Initial
was
planting plan.
initial,
Yeah.
yeah, like with new subdivisions have to have some kind of planting plan in place or,
Multifamily apartment.
Which is when most of the dumb decisions are made.
yeah, let's put in a row of arborvitae.
Yeah, but that, I mean, that is, people who live there don't usually do that.
Yeah.
After the fact.
So, yeah, just things that I wanted it to be on your radar because it's gonna come up sooner than later. And those are the kind of things that have been thrown out to me in the last couple months. I had, Group B home occupations. We had some questions about the mayor wants to allow more use at like, because we don't allow doctors, we don't allow certain uses in as a group, home occupation.
Oh.
And so we've kind of lumped those kind of professional uses into professional services that need to be located downtown. But we've had some pushback from folks, and so I'm like, well, let's change the code, if that's the direction you guys want to go. So, we do for Group B home occupations, they do have to get, notice that neighbors, they have to make sure they're not impacting parking, traffic, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
They have to limit the number of people that come and go from the house, so there are
get the
limitations
business
built in to
permit,
get the,
right?
to get the
Yeah.
Group B home off. And it can't be more than, I think, 50% of the floor area of the dwelling that they're living in, so. Like right now, like we wouldn't allow. Yeah, anything kind of medical, like even like physical therapy or. Yeah, we have to look at overall impact, we have to look at any use and really think of it like, if we applied this to and everyone wanted a home occupation, how would this fit? What uses just are more. Make more sense to be in a commercial zone than in a residential zone. But some of those like massage therapists, is it an impact to the neighbor? I don't know.
I mean, because there's currently in the code limits on like how many people, like how many trips per day.
Yeah.
Your business.
It's not
Yeah.
really just per day,
Yeah,
the
not more
impact is
than I
really
think.
parking, I mean.
What about deliveries? Is there anything about?
There's something about delivery.
There's something about that and about not getting freight deliveries, right?
Yeah, yep.
But, I mean, freight deliveries happen to people who have businesses downtown all the time to their house, like, and how many deliveries do we all personally get, so. I
Well,
don't
and
think that
like-
really matters.
I mean, I had
In
a
construction.
freight delivery to my house because we were getting this massive new water heater thing, like.
Well, I mean, I think
Oh, yeah,
that-
oh, yeah,
I mean, it
and
was
for
like
like
a
construction
giant
stuff
semi
too.
truck
I think
pulled
the
up.
top-
But like,
knows
there's
a bit
plenty of
about
people who own businesses downtown that the freight deliveries are too onerous, they get them dropped at,
Yeah,
you know.
So
at their
I
house.
think the
But, like,
idea is
who
like
cares?
outside of their normal deliveries. If you were getting deliveries every day and they were, I mean,
yeah.
it's all built in the code. It just was like, they want to look at Group B and what uses could be allowed and maybe specify that a little more.
Yeah, I'd be interested to, as part of that, like. Because so many people work remotely, or even like doctors doing telehealth and things like that, like, I mean, technically. I have a downtown office, but
Yeah,
my business license has my home address on it. Because that's where I receive my mail, I don't get my mail downtown, you know, and, but like, I don't believe I registered as any.
So Group
Like, I have a
Get your
business
business
license,
license,
but
you
I
have
don't.
to, you have to apply for this special use for that,
yeah,
I had to at
Yeah,
least.
I guess I
Maybe you got
did.
grandfathered in.
I mean, no, I did. I mean, I did something. I don't
Yeah.
remember what, like, but I remember I looked.
I
through it
had
and
to like
was
put the
oh,
number
no,
of
I'm not gonna
deliveries I
like-
was having during the
Yeah,
day, the number
did
of
it.
visitors.
and
and
there's a
that was
difference
just got the
between
permit, but-
a Group A and a Group B. So a lot of the home people that are just working remote or even a telehealth doctor is nobody's coming and going. It's just
Yeah,
they work from their home. So that would be a Group A.
that's
Group
Group A,
B
okay.
is when you
Group
have
B
a
is when you
larger
actually-
space, you actually have
Yeah.
an office, people are
Okay.
coming and going. We have hairdressers, we have.
Yeah, So, yeah, it's not-
Music, the piano teacher down.
Oh, yeah, the piano teachers,
so it's
yeah.
not just use.
So
Right.
there's different
It's
uses
not
and
just
different,
use-based.
and scope. So
Yeah.
like, Group A is no more than like 20% of the floor area is used
Yeah.
for business, and you don't have people coming and going, you don't have outside workers, you don't have. you're not dispatching from the house.
Right.
It's really those people that work from home.
Yeah.
Like a mailing address only business. So group B is just like, what do we want to include in that?
I mean, the
Is
main
it-
impact is, I mean, traffic really isn't that big a deal.
No.
It's really parking,
It's
right?
really
And so it's like
Yeah.
whether or not
So
you
they
have a
can show
dedicated
parking
parking
and then-
space
yeah.
for,
If
I
they
don't
can check
feel
all the
like-
boxes, it goes
what-
through it.
and then anything else, it's like noise impact or like,
Right.
yeah, I can't.
Funny,
think
I'm
of
like,
any
man,
other-
should my,
Dog barking. Every time the door opens, but.
Anyway, that was
Sure.
another thing that will come up.
So, okay, so for next meeting, we can move forward with hearing
Hearing.
for triplex design standards.
Mhm.
Continue discussion on parking, and obviously if we're kind of tabled on a little bit on that until we get some more data. So I guess maybe we move up CUP. Start eating that frog.
Yeah, so you guys understand the CUP criteria that, like, we have CUP criteria for a B and B right now. We have CUP criteria for certain uses, but then we have all these uses in the use chart that say they're a conditional use, but they have no standards.
Yeah.
Even if we made like very generic standards, like,
Can't AI do?
for some of them, just so it's like, if it's gonna be conditional, why is it conditional? What are we trying to mitigate for and
It
say?
says it's useful. Used it before.
I don't know. It's just something to dig into, or why is it a conditional use or? Yeah, because we have some pretty beefy sections for B and Bs, but then not for an amusement park.
Yeah.
Which we don't allow anymore, but
I mean, yeah.
that went through.
community centers require a CUP, and there are no standards
There's
for
no
it.
standards for a community center. So like, we have to just look at the use, how it could impact any location that it would be allowed as a conditional use and what kind of. What would we want the review criteria to be? What would? It's basically to mitigate impact. So the use that's is allowed, but needs special conditions in order to operate in that zone.
I love what we have. We have sections for coffee roasting,
I know.
pet care center. Underground parking
hilarious.
facility in the multifamily zone to provide parking for a commercial zone district. Bed and breakfast, daycare. That's a really wild array of things that we've chosen, like coffee roasting.
I think it's because.
Well,
have to get-
Leavenworth
But
Coffee
like, how
does
is
it.
that
Yeah, they have.
significantly different than like any other production, like
It's the fire-
beer?
fire-
They used to require
Whatever
CUP
else.
for breweries,
Yeah.
and I don't know.
It's
Because
like
I had to
funny-
doghouse when I first
Drainage.
started
I
here.
know, highly flammable when you get the combustible dust.
Oh, no, but I'm just saying like, why coffee roasting, but not breweries anymore and not like any other industrial sort of manufacturing processes,
It's the
it's like
drainage.
coffee roasting.
Drainage and dust are unique to coffee. And
But I worked on the brewery stuff, like they also have a lot of unique needs, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's an industrial use, I don't know.
Yeah, so that's why we need to look at it.
Yeah.
Okay,
So what would you like me to come with, I guess, for that? I did put together the list of all the CUPs and the ones that don't have definitions.
Yeah.
I went through those that don't have, ones that are defined, ones that don't have criteria. Do you want me to bring some examples of like general criteria that could be used for kind of a generic CUP?
Yeah, I mean, I would
That'd
say
be
just outline it in the most logical way from a.
I wish we could rewrite them. Anyway,
So just a CUP.
Okay.
Rewrite the whole code.
If you want to outline it in most logical way that would, from a day-to-day operational standpoint,
yeah,
and then we can start digging into some of the wormholes. And seeing what are worth tackling, what are worth,
yeah, what needs to be just generic and what might need specific criteria to address impacts. That's kind of where I'm
I think have an
asking.
general chapter. It's pretty vague.
It's very vague, and it just says the hearing, like. Are you looking at the CUP code?
If you can get
Yeah.
across the-
Like
I
making
think
that
so.
more like the general standards, like the unit, they need to make sure they address bulk and,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
But it's not clear that that's what we're reviewing under.
Yeah, it's just like conditions may include, and you're like, okay, I mean, the approval or denial authority. Also has some like. I don't know. All extremely vague,
It is very big.
as we learned with the roller coaster. Sorry, the Alpine coaster.
Yeah. So this is like technically under the additional requirements and conditions.
But it's all like, these are things you might consider.
Yeah, it's not like we're reviewing it for how it could impact parking, like how it could impact why it would need lot size or yard. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just not easy. And so when we get these things that say you need it, like if the community center came in and I had to process it, I'd be like, cool. Do you have parking? I mean, just the standards that I would
Yeah.
normally use for a building permit. So why is it?
Yeah, you're like,
conditional
what
use
is,
permit if
what
there's no condition?
conditions do we need to think?
Yeah, I
about?
mean, probably a lot of this is just removing stuff that doesn't need to be
Yeah.
redundant.
And that could be too, like going through and saying, does this need a CUP? And why? Because would it still be addressed with seat
Yeah.
belt, with building, with parking,
Let's-
landscaping?
Let's do this two-pronged. If you could list all of the existing CUPs
Mhm.
and then maybe highlight ones that are questionable for redundancy.
Yeah.
And then second piece, outline how you'd like this to be formatted for future state. And then we can kind of take it in two chunks.
Okay, I like it. All right, so just to recap. Hearing next month on the design standards.
Yes.
I think I have good direction. I'll try to send you guys the draft early so you can, to make sure I caught everything. I'll probably work on it this week while it's fresh in my mind. So we didn't make too many changes and I made some of them right here. So we'll plan on the hearing. I'll put out that notice for the public hearing. We're gonna kind of table parking until we can get some more data, but I'll keep moving ahead. And then we're gonna talk CUP.
Like, the only other thing on the current docket is inclusionary zoning, and that's also kind of
It's just.
just gonna stay out there until we have anything to work with. I'm sure.
I did send some stuff off to the state, like, hey, can you guys consider?
It'll be number one in the city's docket, but that's okay. We're gonna,
They understand though.
Can we do deed restrictions in Washington?
And we have deed restrictions on a lot of properties, like that's how meant has.
Yeah, that's how community land trusts
Yeah.
work.
Cause that's the thing, is like if they let us do. Yeah, I mean, like if they're gonna let us do deed restrictions. Because I mean, guaranteeing affordability, that's a deed restriction, and they're like, yes, please go ahead and do that. We are not giving you a reasonable way to like create a funding source to put in play, to put a deed restriction program in place. Because we could make it all, we could have a completely just like voluntary deed restriction program where it's like, oh, you're selling your house, well.
Oh,
Pay you to put a
Interesting.
deed restriction on your property and sell it to an affordable buyer, and it will enter the affordable housing market. Like you can do that. But we have to have
Somebody to run the
an
program.
affordable housing, a funded affordable housing program so that we can pay people for the deed restrictions.
Yeah.
But I think there was some, I thought with that kind of like just voluntary program where you just are like, hey, who wants to put their house into the affordable market when they sell it? The city will pay the difference to get that deed restriction in place. I thought there was maybe some hurdle to that. I think maybe the hurdle is public opinion, but
Well, and I think the hurdle too is just how to, like, who make sure, like right now with. Like Mend, they have somebody running a program, they're doing background check, they're making sure people meet this, like.
Yeah.
Then it gets the city into a position where who's running it? Who's
Mhm.
making sure that the person that's buying it is within this income bracket?
Yeah. There's a couple municipalities in Colorado that are doing it.
Yeah,
I'd be curious to see like who is running that program.
I think some
Yeah.
of them, like Boulder,
Yeah, yeah, I think Boulder.
because I looked into their program, I reached out to
Supposed to
them,
be-
they have a whole department that's their affordable housing. Department,
Yeah,
so they run that program.
but I mean, and that's the thing is we were like, oh, well, if we do. You know,
We need
inclusionary
something.
zoning would really just be a funding strategy for an affordable housing program.
And the
And
mayor
it
is
seems
looking
like
at,
there's not a way to collect.
the mayor is looking at some options to use.
Yeah.
Um,
Other funding sources.
Yeah, to get a funding stream in. Right now, we're setting aside $200 in the general, $200,000 in the general fund each year to fund projects. And that's how we helped mend with 58,000 for their
Yeah.
project because there was some utility connections that were very expensive. They had to secure. Anyway, so we have options, but we want more. Like we can't, we can only do little tiny projects. If we want to do more, we do need to find a funding stream.
Yeah.
And
Have we nailed down our meeting with the Housing Advisory Committee?
no, they're not meeting this month. They're working on a request for information to put out to the community for like, hey, we have $500,000 available. What are your project ideas? And we might be able to help you. Like, if there's somebody who has an idea, they're trying to get them to come to us and yeah,
Idea for what?
for projects. Like, oh, well, I'm gonna do cottage housing and I'll make 3 of them affordable if you give me $400,000. And then it has to go through, I mean, it still has to go through the council.
Yeah.
That was, I mean, they're just trying to look for projects. Right now, they just. There's a few, I mean, there's the one that just came in behind us. That's gonna be like 32.
What came in just behind us?
Oh, sorry, it's like co-living back behind City Hall.
Like the
here.
lot. Between.
Right,
and
it's
then
under
parking lot.
Right next to the trail. That
This,
lot.
so this makes me think of something. I went by a duplex recently. And I've heard that there's gonna be maybe a cottage housing by the pickleball courts.
Yeah. I've heard that too.
Oh, the
In-
2 huge lots by Osborne?
Yeah, except they're
Yeah.
building, there's
Well,
a
there's-
They're
house
building a
on one
house
of
in the
them
back.
One
in the
house.
back.
That's a 3-lot, that's a pending 3-lot short plat, and then the lot next to it is
Okay.
potentially an 8 unit cottage housing.
Oh, my dreams are coming
Yay.
true. I was like, those 2
Perfect.
lots are just so.
So
ideal.
I have the,
And they're tennis
Can I
courts, not
make a
just
re-
pickleball courts.
Make a request, like, I'm not that plugged into these things. When you hear of these things, can you let us know? Cause they're
That it's
very
actually
exciting
being
for us to
using?
hear.
When people
Submitted yet.
actually use the
Okay.
new code.
But even like a new duplex is really cool.
yeah, and that's what they're doing for Mend.
Yeah, I knew about the Mend one, but this one was up,
I don't know about it.
in the neighborhood. Maybe it
Might be a house and an ADU.
could be.
Oh,
It
there's
sure
a lot
looks
of
like a
those.
duplex.
There are some that do look like duplexes. They have like
Yeah.
very separate entries, but they
Yeah.
are house and ADU.
Okay.
And I unfortunately, like, I'm not seeing as many things come through because I'm not processing as many of these
Oh,
permits,
okay.
but I have been talking with people. I do know, I just took in a site development permit for them to start grading that lot for utilities. And from what I've seen, it's gonna be 8 units and they're, 2-bedroom. There's a few smaller ones, a few little bigger ones. We had to
Doing
be,
it, like, how is it happening?
uh,
Okay, you all don't.
it's gonna be out there soon.
I would
When
entertain a
it is out,
motion.
would you please share it with us? 'Cause I'm
I'll
quite
send you the
curious.
link on,
Awesome.
cause we'll put
When it's
everything
on,
on
like,
permit
permit
tracks. So you can see the layout, you
Okay.
can, yeah.
Cool.
Yes.
I just looked up
I love
the,
your rule following. You're the absolute best rule follower on the commission. I just want to point it out.
Just talking about whatever.
the RCW related to affordable housing things is pretty flexible in terms of what you can do. So it does say you basically can provide a covenant that requires continuing affordability for at least 50 years. And local government may accept payments in lieu of continuing affordability. So like, I don't like that. If we just require 1 unit of affordable housing for everything and then accept a payment in lieu, like,
It gets funky.
but like it's, and then it like talks about lots of things and then it even says, programs authorized under this section may be modified to meet local needs and may include provisions not expressly provided in this section. So there's like, it seems like there's a lot of
I know.
flexibility that they're really
Like-
trying to give people and that there would be like,
We
Just be
need
like
some more-
inclusionary zoning,
we just need to reference this and be like,
minimum development, 1 unit.
yep,
With the
Must be
lawyers, we'll have a
affordable.
Very much different.
for at least 50 years, or
100% of
you can,
development must be affordable or you pay.
yeah. And it doesn't require, and it also, it does not require that the payment in lieu has a nexus. So like, we don't have to say,
I don't know, I would run it, I ran this whole thing through legal.
The lawyers are gonna have a very.
There
Well,
was a problem.
we talked about just a straight fee. Yeah, I mean, I think they're gonna see straight through us and be like, you're still just charging everybody a fee. And you're not supposed to just.
but it,
Charge
I mean,
people a separate fee, but
I'm
it
reading
is-
between the lines here that it's
I
like
know.
really flexible.
I did run it by legal, that's.
Don't worry, it'll be on the docket again.
Okay,
We're gonna
great.
keep
I'm
talking about
just-
it.
Okay, now we can adjourn.
No, I mean, cause we went round and round and round and,
Second,
wait, who just?
Elizabeth
who just
motion.
That was a motion.
I need the mic drop. Now that I've raised my hand and said my piece.
Seconded by Colin, all in favor of adjourning.
Bye.
Bye.
Perfect timing.
Hey, James, you're
he's still awake. Good job, James.
Oh, I'm in good shape, yeah. I'm about to go on to the night shift, so.
Oh, gosh. Good luck.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you later.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Wait, who was my second?
Colin.
Thank you.
Yeah.